here. You're with the Thrifty Apprentice. Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome back to another Thrifty Review. This is the third Thrifty Review and final Thrifty Review for the week. We have gotten some products out of the way. That way we can move full force into the rest of the month. In today's quick review, and I do mean it's going to be quick, we are taking a look at RESTLY 120 count of alcohol markers. They refer to them as art markers. Before we do that, I'm going to let you guys see the markers in use one final time. You're going to get one demo but two little paintings, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you here afterwards. Here we are, friends, and hopefully you enjoyed that. This is the RESTLY 120 count art markers. I purchased these markers back during, I want to say, Prime Day in October, if I'm not mistaken. I've used the markers a few times. I've swatched them out, and now I think I'm ready to offer my opinion on them. So the markers come in a regular marker carrying case. This one is about the same sturdiness as most budget marker cases on the market. I did notice that this one had a little bit of the stitching kind of coming out here on the side, so that was something to take note of. But other than that, the carrying case was in pretty good condition. The logo itself seems to be printed on the front as if though, you know, the cases were ordered in mass quantities and then they screen printed or heat printed or pressed the logo on the front. It looks like it might be screen printed. So there's a UPC code here. It lets you know that ASTM, so I'm assuming it conforms to the ASTM regulations. Made in China, alcohol-based ink, chisel and fine tip, easy blending, art markers. And that is all of the information that you get with the markers. Let's crack them open. There was no information on the inside included with the markers that I can think of or that I can recall. I don't think there was a brochure or pamphlet of any type, no type of swatching paper or anything like that. So there is 120 markers here. That is 120, including the colorless blender. Each of the markers are stored in, let me see if I can get it out without dropping the markers. So there are two, can't get it. Let's see here. There we go. There are two individual folding trays in the bottom of the carrying case. It is plastic, made of a pretty stiff plastic actually, and it is designed to hold each of the markers in place individually. So that's a good thing. It keeps them from rolling around and joggling around inside the carrying case, which is pretty cool. So each of the markers are of your small body marker. Now, I mentioned in the video maybe a week ago, maybe a week or more ago, that whenever I see the word art markers on the front of alcohol-based markers, I've noticed that it's the small body. I don't typically see art markers on the front of like your standard body markers, which we're going to compare those in just a minute. So this marker has a triangular barrel. For the most part, it is sort of an off-white. It does have color chipping along the barrel, and that's supposed to be indicative of the ink that's on the inside. There is a circle dome with the number which corresponds to the ink that is inside the barrel. Indications of the brush tip, the broad tip, and then of course alcohol art marker. Other than that, there's no information printed. The caps remove pretty easily and they snap on pretty well too. I didn't have any issues with that. I will say that those caps on the inside are indented further up into the cap for that secure snap. So especially with the brush tip, you want to be careful, kind of aim straight when you're snapping those in, because you don't want to mess up the tip of your markers if you decide these are something that you want to add to your art supply collection. Same thing is on the opposite end for the chisel. So I'm just, you know, kind of aware when I'm recapping this particular marker. Now, I do like the style of the marker. As I said, it's triangular, so it will not roll. Now, if you compare it to your standard marker, this is a Royal and Lane Nickel Azure marker. This is your standard fine broad and fine tip traditional style art marker or alcohol-based marker or alcohol marker, and you can see the difference in the body style. And I've started to notice this small body style in a lot of markers. As a matter of fact, we have used, and I'm still waiting to review. I won't review it until they actually come back in stock. So I've been watching the site to see if and when they'll come back in stock. But these are the 2-seed art markers, but they are water-based. But notice it says art marker again, and it is that small body style. It's actually the exact same body style, just with different manufacturing information on it. And there's a bit of the difference there. This is like ribbed on the 2-seed water-based markers, and here on the RESTLY alcohol-based markers, the ones that we're actually reviewing, they don't have that ribbing on the color band there. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted you guys to see that, and that it actually does say art markers as well. So pretty straightforward barrel. There is a brush tip. Now this is that fiber-based tip. This is your more economical tip that's on here. So the nibs are, you know, it's not as responsive as, say, like the nib on the Sanjoki marker. So like this is a Sanjoki brush tip marker, and the nibs on these were pretty flexible and responsive. These have been markers that I recommended in the past. I will say I still do recommend them, but I have noticed some yellowing with some colors, and that's something that I did want to note. But these particular nibs or brush nibs are not as responsive or as flexible. Now you are going to get some flex. Let me just see if I can grab here. Just grab here. So you get flex with it, but it's not as flexible as, say, like the nibs that were on these Sanjoki markers, which I believe, see how flexible and responsive that is? I believe this is a much better quality nib that's in this particular marker than, say, in this particular one. But of course these were cheaper than that set of markers were, so I was expecting it to be a little bit more economically produced. Now it also has a broad tip, and for all intents and purposes, I think the broad tip is pretty standard. You can get some smaller straight lines with the tip of it. You can get some broader lines by using it on its side. I will say that the ink flow from these markers was pretty consistent. Unless you're doing really big areas, I did have to slow down a little bit to make sure that I got consistent ink flow. But for the most part, it was pretty standard. And of course, it flows a little bit better out of the brush tip end than it does out of the broad tip end. But that's also pretty standard with a brush broad chisel tip marker. Let's see, the numbering system for these was not one that I recognized, so I definitely do not know what inking system these are on. I tried to compare them to the Sanjoki, which I happen to know are on the same numbering system as my Touch New, the same numbering system as those markers that I got from Five Below, which is the Shinhan numbering system. And at first, the numbers seemed like they were starting to correspond with the first 2 or 3 that I pulled. But the more I pulled, the more I noticed that the numbers were off. These particular markers have a very high number range on the inking system. And typically, you know, when you buy 120 set per se, it's going to be numbered 1 through 20, or you'll get numbers in the range of 1 through 120. And they typically correlate. Whereas with these, the numbers were all over the place. We have some that are even like 7,502. So I'm not sure what inking system this is. The telltale sign was that in the Shinhan system, the number 120 is going to be black. In every single budget system, budget marker that I own, that I'm sure is on the Shinhan numbering system, the number 120 is black. In this particular case, it is a really light neon yellow. So I'm not sure. I did try to compare the system to the Darnassus markers that I reviewed a while back, just shortly, the marker set before this. And again, it's not on that system. And that system is not the Shinhan system. So, you know, I'm kind of curious if anyone else is familiar with this particular numbering system based on the number range that you can see here. You know, let me know. I would be really interested in researching it to that particular system. Now, it's a nice range of colors. They all work and blend really well together. I did not do any blend tests to share with you guys, but I did, of course, swatch them out. And this is mixed media paper. I did 3 layers. One layer of ink, came back and glazed with a second layer of ink, and then came back and glazed with a third layer of ink on all of the swatches in order to see the difference in saturation that I could build with one particular marker. I didn't have any issues with the ink flow, and they blended well, so I was able to build saturation of color as I layered or as I glazed the colors. Now, markers are transparent, so I was not necessarily building opacity, but I was building color depth and saturation with the more layering or glazing that I did with the markers. And I'm saying glazing because they're brush tips and they really reminded me of painting. Pretty robust colors, really bright and punchy, really nice earth range of colors. Not as many grays as I would necessarily like, but the ones that are in there are very useful, and I did use them a lot. There's a lot of pinky, neon-y colors, and I'm not sure which one of them is running, but it has run onto more than one of my swatches, as you can see there. So that is definitely something to note. And it's not that the markers are just super, super juicy, so I don't understand what. Maybe I didn't give it time to dry. I'm not exactly sure what the case is, but that's definitely what happened. So let's move on and look at some of the things that I've done with the markers really quickly. Let me move them out the way because I want to go ahead and wrap this up. Let me get these out of the way. Okay, there we go. And the first thing that went up on the channel with these markers, if I'm not mistaken, was a Christmas painting where I did the salted caramel apple. I had a lot of fun doing this one. I really love this Ohuhu marker paper. It is a really, really nice. It's a little bit more absorbent than like your regular marker paper. It's not as slick as regular marker paper. And there you can see what I mean by those Sanjoki markers. That this composition was done with those markers, and you can see over time this page laying up against it has yellow at the back. Now the great thing is it hasn't interrupted the composition that I sketched out on the front to do on this page, which I guess is an attestament to the paper. But yeah, you have to be careful with those. See, it did it to the back as well, so the back page, and I'm not sure how I'm going to save that page. I may end up doing an illustration on the back of that page just to be able to use it. So with those Sanjoki markers, be careful. I know the black will do that as well. I've seen the black do that. And I've had some viewers ask me about that as well. So although I do think that they are a nice quality marker, those inks will just be careful with them. And see, I have a little transference of ink yellow in here. So I'm wondering if it has anything to do with this paper. Because this is a completely different marker, and as you can see, there's a little yellowing there from. So maybe this paper stains easily, but those Sanjoki markers, I know they've done that on other papers. Okay, so back to the composition. It turned out really nice. The marker blended well. The ink flowed well. I was able to layer on top of it with gouache with no problem. Layer on top of it with colored pencils with no problem. The inks worked really well with fine liners. So I have no qualms with these markers. They're a cheap, economical marker, especially if you're new to markers and you want to buy a set for like your kids. You want to buy a set for yourself just to have to play around with or to travel with, because you don't want to take your more expensive markers with you. Or if, as I was about to say, if you're new to markers and you don't want to buy an expensive set, you want to buy just a set of markers that you can play around with to see if you actually like the medium before you go spend a bunch of money on expensive markers. then definitely something to consider. Here I did, this is that Soho Urban Artist heavyweight drawing paper that I am testing. So I wanted to use alcohol markers on this paper to see how it will work out. And at this point, you've seen all three of these. This came out in a separate demo, so that I'll be sure to link all of this just in case you guys want to see it in the video description and possibly in the video itself. So here we did sushi in this video, and we did the art marker itself. I thought it was a cool play on the fact that we were doing a marker review. Again, they blended really beautifully. It did I love the way the thimble metal pail holding the fries came out. I was really happy with the way they blended down and mixed with each other, or should I say layered. They layered really well because they don't necessarily mix, but they layered really well for me to achieve the colors that I wanted for the sushi, which I was really happy with. It was not a super complicated composition to paint at all. I don't have any qualms with these markers. I think that they are a really cool alternative to spending money on a really big expensive set, especially until you get used to using them. If you're giving them to a kid or a student for the first time to get them interested in the medium, I think this is a really good way to go, especially if you're talking about going non-traditional and doing a brush and chisel tip versus a chisel and bullet tip traditional marker. I think this is a really cool place to start. Now, these markers cost, should I say, the 120 count, $36.99. They have a 40 count for $13.99. They have a 60 count for $15.99. And currently there is a 20% coupon that you can use to apply to the price. So that makes them even cheaper. That's a great price. $36.99 with 20% off for 120 alcohol-based markers that have a pretty decent nib. Now, as far as being refillable, the marker pad that's inside these, I'm not really sure how big it is. Now, I was prying this marker apart, and I probably should not do this, especially over my artwork. Let's see, in case it splatters. Now, you can grab so it has a removable nib, as you can see there. So you can remove the nib and refill this particular barrel if you wanted to. If you could figure out what inking system it was on, or if you are savvy enough to take alcohol inks and be able to mix your own ink to get colors close to refilling these, if you will, decided, hey, you wanted to refill these and save these alcohol bodies. So, and that was a gray. I hate I did that to the gray. I should have done it to the colorless blender, but I did want you to see that those nibs are removable. And if I'm not mistaken, let's take a look. I don't think it is. That was a Prismacolor, so that had a bullet. I don't think they are definitely, the nibs are definitely smaller than the average size nib. So, but I do think you can find replaceable nibs for this particular style of marker. As many of them that are out there, I'm pretty sure you probably can. Let me see. Yeah, I don't have to get that time now, because I pulled all of the ink out of the nib. So, but it'll eventually refresh itself as it sits on the shelf. So guys, there you have it. Pretty decent alcohol marker for a budget marker for a beginner set. As we're going, I'm gonna let you guys see the difference in the body styles of the markers again. That's a Prismacolor. That is a Sanjoki. That's a Royal and Lane Nickel Azure. And that is a RESTLY art marker, the one we reviewed today. Just so you can truly see the difference in the body styles. Let's see. So there you have it. Hopefully you heard some information saw something that you enjoyed in this video. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Go ahead and share the video. Sharing is caring, and maybe someone else would love to hear the information on these art markers. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, or you're returning and you haven't subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscription button, that notification bell, so you'll know when the new content is coming out. You can hit up the video description for all of the relevant links. Oh, and yeah, hit up the comment section. Let me know, have you guys used these markers? What did you think of the demo? What did you think of the review? Are you familiar with this numbering system? Because I would really love to know what it is. Let me know in the comment section. Hit up the video description for all of the relevant links, from the Facebook group to the most recommended product list, which I'm not sure if these will make the most recommended product list. I think that they are a good budget grade quality product. They have a wonderful price on them right now. So now will be the time to get them when they're on sale. I would definitely suggest these markers when they're on sale, and they're a great place to start with alcohol markers. So always keep that in mind. Etsy and Patreon links are in the video description in case you decide you want to help support the channel so I can continue to bring you guys videos like this. And thank you so very much for joining me here. I will see you guys next week on Wednesday with Water Soluble Wednesday. Until then, just keep painting and crafting.